Octavia knots off a repaired shirt while Bronx thunder past the tent. Ronan doesn't stop because stopping would mean asking how long she's staying. They both know the rodeo breaks camp in 6 days. Some loves don't ask to survive. They only ask if you're willing to feel them knowing they won't. Miles City is a place built for passing through. Wagons roll in, wagons roll out, and the land never offers a reason to linger. People learn not to ask who's staying. Octavia Colton travels with her aunt's dress shop, mending torn shirts and selling ready-made dresses to men who ride hard and leave harder. Wanting someone would mean wanting roots, and roots don't fit in a trunk. She meets Ronan at the rodeo grounds, a bronc rider with cracked ribs and a reputation that keeps him slightly apart from the crowd. He watches her work by lamplight, the careful pull of thread through cloth. She watches him ride like a man who knows the ground will win eventually. They don't ask questions that stretch past the week. Silence protects them. Honesty would only make the leaving heavier. The truth sits between them from the start. 6 days. Then he rides south to Colorado. She goes north to Billings. And whatever grows here won't be tested by staying, only by how much of them it takes when they part. Octavia pulls a needle through denim as the afternoon crowd gathers outside. The canvas tent lifts and settles with the wind. Dust creeps under the hem. Shirts hang from a rope, torn elbows waiting their turn. She works standing because chairs invite staying. Footsteps pause at the opening. She does not look up. She finishes the stitch. Knots it tight. Only then does she lift her head. Ronan stands just inside the shade. Hat low, jacket still on despite the heat. One hand presses his ribs, not enough to show weakness, enough to admit it exists. "You fix riding shirts?" he asks. She nods once, holds out her hand. He passes the garment over, careful, like the cloth might bruise. She spreads it flat. Leather creaks as he shifts his weight. She smells dust and horse sweat, familiar things, safe things. "You ride tonight," she says. He watches her fingers, not her face. "If they let me." She turns the sleeve, sees where the seam tore, sees how it happened without asking. She sets to work. Outside, a horse screams. The sound cuts short. Applause follows. Ronan doesn't move toward the exit, doesn't step closer either. He stands where the light breaks on his boots. "Are you here long?" he asks. She ties off another stitch before answering. "Not long." He nods. Like that settles something. They fall quiet. Lamplight flickers as a cloud passes. Her breath slows to match her hands. His stays shallow. When she finishes, she folds the shirt once, slides it across the table. He takes it. Their fingers touch. Only once. Only by accident. "Thank you," he says. She watches him leave without asking his name. Outside, the crowd roars again. She does not look up this time. Octavia grips the fence rail as Ronan's horse breaks hard from the gate. Wood bites into her palms. She doesn't loosen her hold. The animal surges, then drops its head, fighting weight and air. Ronan leans back, breath tight, ribs guarded without mercy. She tells herself. She's watching for work. Torn seams mean supper money. That's true. It's not all of it. The horse snaps sideways. Ronan's boot slips. The crowd lifts, then hushes. He finds the rhythm again. Holds. 8 seconds feels longer than it should. When the buzzer cuts through, he slides off clean. Lands stiff. One hand goes to his side. He hides it quickly. She lets go of the rail. Men crowd him. Slaps on the back. Someone laughs too loud. He smiles like it costs him nothing. She turns away before he can look for her. Back in the tent, she lays out a stack of shirts, smooths them once. Doesn't need to. Her breath won't settle. Footsteps stop outside. He doesn't step in, keeps the line between them. "Ride held," he says. "Shirt did its job." She nods. "Good." Silence stretches. The earth outside holds the heat. A fly buzzes, then leaves. "They're moving on," he says. "Colorado after this." She keeps her eyes on the table, slides a needle through cloth she hasn't torn yet. "That's the way," she answers. "North for you?" Billings. The words land between them. North. South. No overlap. He clears his throat, doesn't fill the space. "We've got days," he says. Not a question. She looks up then, meets his eyes, sees the decision already sitting there, waiting. 6, she says. He nods once, like a man counting, not hoping. Outside, another gate slams. The next rider goes in. Neither of them moves. Octavia counts coins while the tent empties for the evening ride. Fabric lies folded. Needles rest. The wind drops, leaving the canvas slack and quiet. She hears footsteps before she sees him. Ronan stops at the rope line. Doesn't cross it, keeps the rule they didn't name. "Have you eaten yet?" he asks. She finishes stacking the coins, slides them into a tin. "Later?" He nods. Looks past her shoulder at the darkening grounds. Horses snort. Men argue about draws. A lamp flares nearby, light catching the dust. "They've got stew by the pens," he says. "Won't be good." She meets his eyes. Waits. "I don't mind." They walk together without touching. Footsteps fall out of time. He keeps his right side away from her. She notices, doesn't comment. At the pen they stand at the rail, eat from tin bowls. Wood creaks under their weight. The stew burns her tongue. She doesn't slow. He watches the riders warm up. She watches him watch. Breath tight, jaw set. "You don't have to ride tomorrow," she says. He keeps his eyes forward. "I do." She sets her bowl down, lets the spoon ring once. "Why?" He considers the rail, the earth below. "Because stopping makes it real." The words land. She understands them without asking for more. A rider stumbles nearby. Laughter breaks out. Ronan's hand curls, then relaxes. "I won't ask you to stay," he says, not looking at her. "And I won't ask where you go after." She turns toward him, closes the space he left. Not enough to touch. "Good," she says. It costs her something to say it. They finish eating, walk back the same way, separate at the rope line again. He tips his hat. Pauses. "Tomorrow night," he says, "if you're free." She nods once. When he leaves, she stands there longer than she should. The lamp gutters. Darkness takes its place. Octavia smooths a dress on the hanger as night settles over the grounds. Lamplight pools low. Fabric shifts beneath her hands. Outside, the last of the crowd thins, footsteps dragging toward wagons and trucks. Ronan doesn't come right away. She tells herself it doesn't matter. Keeps working. Folds, straightens, hangs. The routine holds until it doesn't. Footsteps stop at the tent. He stays outside this time, shadowed, hat off. His breath sounds wrong, short, careful. "Didn't ride," he says. She turns, sees the set of his shoulders, the way his hand braces the post. "Why not?" He doesn't answer at once, looks past her toward the dark pens. "Doctor took me out." The words change the air. The quiet thickens. Riding was the rule that kept everything simple. She steps closer, stops before the rope. "How bad?" "Enough." She nods, accepts the boundary he's giving her. The wind lifts the tent flap. Dust skims the floor. "I leave in 2 days," he says. She hadn't counted past 6. The number feels smaller now. "Tomorrow night," she says, holding to what remains. "You said." He hesitates, just long enough to matter. "If you'll have me." She doesn't answer. With words. Steps back, clears a space beside the table, sets out 2 stools. He crosses the rope. They sit without touching. Wood creaks. Lamplight flickers across his ribs when he shifts. She pretends not to see the pain. "I won't ask you to stay," he says again. Firmer now. She threads a needle, pulls it through fabric she brought from nowhere. "Then don't." The unasked question hangs between them, heavier than anything spoken. Neither of them reaches for it. Outside, a horse stamps. The sound carries, then fades. They stay. Ronan steps away from the pens and stops when his ribs pull tight. He waits it out. Breath shallow, hat still on. The night presses close, holding heat and dust. Somewhere behind him, a gate claps shut. He turns back toward the dress tent. Lamplight leaks through the canvas seams. He hesitates, then goes in. Octavia stands at the table, sorting fabric by feel, not looking up. She knows his steps now. That knowledge lands harder than it should. "You should be resting," she says. He stays where the light breaks across his boots. "Doctor says resting don't pay." She folds one piece of cloth, sets it aside, doesn't reach for another. "You're leaving sooner." He nods once. "Tomorrow night." The word shortens the space between them. Not distance, time. He shifts his weight. The wood floor complains. He stills. "I keep thinking if I ask right, it'll change something." She doesn't answer. Her hands stay busy fixing a tear that isn't there. Fabric slides under her fingers. Smooth, unneeded. "I won't," he says. "Ask, I mean." She looks up then, holds his gaze, just long enough to make it count. Good. That should ease him. It doesn't. Outside, wind tugs the tent. Dust moves along the edge and settles again. He takes off his hat, turns it once in his hands. Stops. "If things were different," he starts. She cuts a thread clean. The sound snaps. "They aren't." He nods, accepts it like a verdict he expected, puts the hat back on. "I don't want to make this harder," he says. "You already did," she answers. Not unkind. Not soft. Silence fills the tent. Expensive now. He steps back toward the opening. Pauses. "Tomorrow night," he says again. Not a question. She doesn't stop him, doesn't follow. When he leaves, the lamplight flickers. She keeps working anyway. Ronan stands behind the chutes and listens to another man's name get called. Leather creaks as a rider mounts. The gate slams. The horse explodes forward. The crowd answers like it always does. Ronan keeps his hands in his pockets so they won't shake. He shouldn't be here. Not riding makes him visible in the wrong way. A sharp pain cuts his side when he shifts. He stays still. Lets it pass. The night air pulls at his breath, thin and unforgiving. He turns before the ride ends, walks away from the noise. Each step takes effort. Each one feels like leaving something unfinished. The dress tent glows ahead. Steady, small. Octavia is outside this time, rolling fabric tight and tying it off. She's dressed to close, not to stay. The sight lands harder than the pain. "You're early," she says. "Didn't ride," he answers. She nods once, doesn't ask why, doesn't offer anything back. They stand a few feet apart. Dust lifts under his boots and settles between them. The ground feels temporary. "I leave at dawn," he says. The words hang. Final now. She ties the last knot, pulls it firm. "I know." He waits for more. It doesn't come. A wagon rattles past. Someone laughs. The night keeps going, careless. "I thought," he starts, then stops, clears his throat. "I thought tonight would feel different." She looks at him then, really looks. It does. He steps closer, not enough to touch, close enough to feel her breath change. "If I stay," he says low, "it won't be for the right reasons." "And if you go," she says, just as low, "it won't stop costing you." They hold there. No witnesses. No promises. From the arena, the crowd roars again. Ronan turns away first. That's the choice he makes, and it breaks something clean through. Octavia folds the last length of fabric and ties it down tight. Morning hasn't come yet, but the grounds are already thinning. Wagons creak. Footsteps pass without stopping. The night smells like earth cooling too fast. Ronan doesn't come back. She tells herself that's the point. Keeps working. Her hands know the order even when her breath doesn't. At the edge of the tent, she pauses. Looks out once. The road south lies open, pale in the early light. Empty now. Inside, she lifts a shirt from the pile, finds the tear, fixes it clean. Too clean. Her fingers move faster than they should. She slows them on purpose. Her aunt calls her name from the wagon. Once, not again. Outside, a horse stamps. Someone laughs and then quiets, life moving on without waiting. Octavia steps into the tent again, picks up a needle she doesn't need. Sets it down. The floor creaks under her shift. The sound feels too loud. She remembers the way Ronan stood close without touching. The way he turned first. She doesn't follow the thought. Lets it stop where it is. She ties off the final knot. Cuts the thread. The snap lands sharp in the quiet. The wagon horn sounds. Time, not asking. She takes one last look at the empty space where he stood. Measures it, commits it to memory like a pattern she won't use again. Then she steps out, climbs up, sits facing forward. As the wagon starts north, the tent canvas flaps once and settles. The space he left stays open, and it travels with her. Ronan misses his seat before the gate even opens. The horse surges early. Leather slips under his hand. He hits the dirt hard, breath gone on impact. Dust fills his mouth. The crowd reacts too late to matter. He rolls to his knees, stays there until the noise thins. His ribs scream. That's expected. The pause before the fall. That catches him off guard. The moment his balance went soft. He knows where it came from. He stands. Dusts off his jacket without looking at anyone. Walks out of the arena on his own feet. Pride intact. Something else not. Behind the pens, he leans against the rail. Wood presses into his back. He breathes shallow. Lets the shaking stop. He thinks of her hands. Steady, exact, fixing what tore under strain. The thought costs him. He doesn't push it away. A handler calls his name, asks if he's fit. Ronan nods. The lie sits heavy in his mouth. Later, in the quiet, he sits alone. Hat on the ground beside him. The night smells like earth and sweat. He presses his ribs and waits for the ache to dull. He tells himself this is what leaving is. Not a clean break. A weight that shifts when you least expect it. He reaches for his glove. Finds a loose seam. One stitch pulled wide. He doesn't fix it. Lets it stay that way. Because some things don't mend once they're pulled apart. And riding doesn't mean balance anymore. Octavia sits on the wagon bench as Billings comes into view. The road has worked her over. Wood rattles under her weight. Dust coats the hem of her skirt. She keeps her hands folded so they won't reach for anything. They set up the shop by noon. Canvas up. Rope tied. The work comes back like muscle memory. Men line up with torn shirts and short patience. She takes both without comment. She fixes one sleeve, then another. Fabric slides through her fingers. Clean tears. Easy problems. Midway through the afternoon, her needle slips. The prick is small, sharp. Blood beads before she can stop it. She stills. Breath caught. Watches the red darken the thread. Her aunt notices. "Careful," she says, not looking up. Octavia wraps her finger in cloth, ties it off tight, goes back to work. The next tear resists her. The seam pulls wrong. She adjusts. Tries again. It holds, but not clean. She leaves it. Outside, a horse blows hard. The sound reaches in and settles somewhere she didn't expect. She pauses. Just long enough to feel the absence. Then she finishes the job and hands it back. As the sun drops, the crowd thins. The day closes itself. Octavia counts the coins. Misses one, counts again. Still short. She lets it go. That night, alone, she lays out her tools. Needle, thread, scissors. She lines them straight. Exactly. She stares at her wrapped finger. Thinks of balance, of hands that learned it the hard way. Loving him didn't stop the work. It just made every stitch cost more. Ronan rides out before sunrise, heading nowhere that feels like forward. The road stretches pale and empty. His horse moves carefully, like it knows the cost of one wrong step. Ronan keeps his weight centered, breath measured. He doesn't rush. Miles pass. Colorado waits. None of it settles him. At a shallow rise, he stops. Dismounts, slow. The ground feels unsteady under his boots. He lets the horse drink, hand loose on the rein. He pulls off his glove. The seam is still torn. The gap is small, obvious to him alone. He could fix it. Has thread, has time. The work would be easy. He folds the glove instead, slides it into his pocket. Later, when the day warms, the pain returns sharper. He adjusts his seat, misses it by a breath, catches himself before the fall. The moment hangs, then passes. That pause stays with him. North, Octavia opens her kit as evening settles. Lamplight pools on the table. She lays out needle and thread. Her finger still aches when she bends it. She chooses a dark thread. Strong, the kind that shows its work. She stitches slowly, carefully. Each pull is exact. When the seam holds, she stops. Doesn't smooth it down. Leaves the line visible. Outside, the town goes quiet. Footsteps are thin. The world keeps its distance. Ronan rides on as the light fades, balance never quite settling. Octavia ties off her final knot and cuts the thread clean. They don't speak, don't write, don't return. But every time he shifts his weight, he remembers what steadiness costs, and every time she threads a needle, she knows exactly why her hands don't shake. If you love stories like this, you're welcome here. Subscribe if you want more Western romances, and if this story stayed with you, you can say so in the comments. I'll see it. I'm your narrator, John. Until the next road.